You're listening to Blerd Senpai. Here we discuss anything and everything concerning the Black nerd community. We're talking music, movies, comic books, celebrity news, and maybe even politics. Wherever you're listening from, sub to hear more from Senpai.
The award-winning author, teacher, and producer Nana Reeve Dew said of Mr. Duane Jones and his role in The Night of the Living Dead, quote, "We're still working our way back to the point where a character like Ben or an actor like Duane Jones is just sort of casually the lead in a horror film. The role is still groundbreaking for that reason. In representation in any form, even when there's no race discussed, even when it's not against the backdrop of a huge social change like Night of the Living Dead, it's still revolutionary to have that black face, to have that black alpha." Duane Jones' performance in Night of the Living Dead, 1968, the arts. And through that love, he began his thespian career that would lead him to audition for the role of Ben in the 1968 film Night of the Living Dead. The audition process was one like any other. Actors spoke their roles and tried their best to portray Ben as they all saw fit. Mr. Jones won that audition. And once Mr. Jones accepted that role, a historical precipice was met. Because no time before had a role that was originally written for a white actor had been portrayed by a black actor. And to give it even more historical context, not before Jones had there ever been a black lead protagonist in a horror film. Though the actor Duane Jones and the character of Ben were on two completely different spectrums, one being highly educated, a scholar, the other one being a Pennsylvania hick, there are some qualities that they did share alike. Ben and Jones were both quick thinking, resourceful, and courageous. The character of Ben, often throughout the film, tried his best to keep his fellow survivors safe from certain death, though his efforts were often undercut by their foolish behavior. Jones was quoted about his role in the film as saying, "It never occurred to me that I was hired because I was black, but it did occur to me that because I was black, it would give a different historical element to the film." Next, I will play for you an interview that Mr. Duane Jones did on December 13th, 1987, at his Old Westbury, New York residence. The interviewer was Mr. Tom Ferret. This is the only in-depth interview that Mr. Jones did about his experiences making Night of the Living Dead before his death in 1988.
There are people out there who have been wonderfully supportive and love the movie and love me in it, and I really do truly appreciate that. I've never taken that for granted. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that I am so arrogant as not to be grateful for the acclaim they have given me and the film. And it should never be misconstrued that my enigmatic, mysterious persona that I have in some instances deliberately created just to have the space in which to have a private life is a lack of gratitude. It's not. But it is my absolute insistence that I be seen as a total human being and not as Ben. Ben didn't even really have a biography. I mean, where was he coming from?
Yeah,
He just
pulled
was
up in front of the house.
Really?
Just there, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Men was just passing through.
What you
Notice Me Senpai. It's a little special because usually I shout out Black people, places, things, anything and everything in the Black nerd zeitgeist that I feel like deserves extra attention. Um, who I'm about to shout out is not Black, but they do seem to be an ally in this particular sense. I will be shouting out actor, filmmaker Forrest Gump himself, Tom Hanks. Most nerds will probably know him for his role as Sheriff Woody. Less than 24 hours ago, Mr. Hanks, through the New York Times, penned an article basically stating that the American education system is broken as it concerns Black history, which is American history. Hank stated in that article, history is written by white people about white people like me, while the history of Black people, including the horrors of the Tulsa, Oklahoma, was way too often left out. Until recently, the entertainment industry, which helps shape what is history and what is forgotten, did the same. Hank cites an article in the New York Times written by Campbell Robinson as the reasons that he found out about this dark moment in American history. Hank is in good company as it concerns most Americans not knowing about the Tulsa massacres. The most recent iteration in entertainment that I can think of would have to be the TV show The Watchmen, which stars actor and Oscar winner Regina King, which shed some light in a dramatic way on this historical moment in its first episode. The words Tulsa, Oklahoma appear across the screen, the year being 1921. The episode shows varied acts of violence, buildings being set on fire, people being violated. Mr. Hanks is correct in his critique in the American education system. Um, just on from a personal note, I was not aware of the Tulsa massacres until I was in high school, ninth grade year. And it just so happened that my American history teacher was also a graduate with a master's degree in African American studies. So while we were taught the curriculum as it was supposed to be taught in our area, he also added in there factoids and studies and homework assignments surrounding Black history, not only just in February, but throughout the calendar year. So if it was not for Mr. Jones, I do believe his name was, at Wyandotte High School, I don't think I would have known because no other teacher would have been willing to teach me. So, for that editorial piece, Senpai notices you because people love Tom Hanks. White people love Tom Hanks. And if Tom Hanks is saying to the world, hey, maybe we need to teach things other than white history in school, maybe possibly someone with the ability to recommend some change would recommend some change.